When HOA President Karen saw a black maintenance supervisor picking up a package, she called 911 without hesitation, accusing him of theft. What she didn't know? The man she just racially profiled wasn't only innocent. He was about to expose something far more shocking than her fake accusations. What happened next left the entire neighborhood, and Karen, in complete disbelief. The air was thick with the scent of freshly cut grass and the faint hum of cicadas as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky over suburban Copenhagen in hues of orange and violet. Marcus Jackson, a 30-year-old maintenance supervisor, stood just outside the wrought iron gates of Oosterbro Heights, an upscale gated community nestled in the northern outskirts of Denmark's capital. His Navy worker's uniform clung to his broad shoulders, damp with the day's sweat, and his dark skin glistened faintly under the flickering glow of a nearby security lamp. He was tired, bone-tired, after a 12-hour shift at the shipyard, but his easy smile never wavered as he reached for a large cardboard box resting on the porch of the community's entrance lodge. "Evening," he said, his voice low and warm, nodding toward the woman standing a few feet away. She didn't respond. Her name was Ingrid Larson, a 50-something widow with sharp blue eyes, a tight blonde bob, and a pearl necklace that gleamed against her crisp white blouse. She stood rigid, arms crossed, her lips pressed into a thin line as she watched him. The tension between them was palpable, a silent storm brewing in the stillness of the twilight. Marcus didn't let it faze him. He'd seen that look before, too many times in too many places, growing up as the son of a Jamaican immigrant in London, then moving to Denmark for work 5 years ago. He'd learned to read the unspoken language of suspicion. It was in the way her eyes darted to the box, then back to him as if he were some thief in the night instead of a man just doing his job. He chuckled softly to himself, shaking his head as he hefted the box onto his shoulder. "Special delivery," he said, trying to lighten the mood. "Looks like someone's getting a new TV. Heavy one, too." Ingrid's expression didn't soften. "Who's it for?" she asked, her Danish accent clipped and cold. "And why are you here so late?" Marcus glanced at the label on the box. "Says it's for a Mr. Henrik Voss, 14B. I'm just dropping it off on my way home. Courier couldn't make it past the gate, I guess." He shrugged, still smiling. "Figured I'd save him the trip." Ingrid's eyes narrowed. "We have rules here. Deliveries go through the front office during business hours. You shouldn't be here." The security light above them buzzed to life, casting harsh shadows across the cobblestone path. Marcus set the box down gently, wiping his hands on his pants. "I get it," he said, keeping his tone even, "but I live just down the road, and I pass by here every day. Didn't think it'd be a problem." "It is a problem," she snapped, stepping closer. "People like you don't just wander into Oosterbro Heights whenever they feel like it." Her words hung in the air, sharp and deliberate, and Marcus felt the familiar sting of them. People like you. He'd heard it in London, in the shipyards, even in the quiet streets of Copenhagen, a city that prided itself on tolerance but couldn't always hide its undercurrents. He took a slow breath, his smile fading just a little. "Look, ma'am, I'm not wandering. I'm delivering. That's all." Ingrid didn't back down. "I don't know you, and I don't trust strangers handling things that don't belong to them." The accusation landed like a punch, but Marcus didn't flinch. He'd been here before, profiled, judged, dismissed. He could have walked away, left the box and let her deal with it, but something in him refused to let it go that easily. Not tonight. Not after a day of hauling steel and dodging snide remarks from his crew about his accent, his skin, his place in their world. "Fair enough," he said, meeting her gaze. "You don't know me, but I know Henrik. Worked with him last month on a repair job at the docks. Good guy. He asked me to keep an eye out for this." It was a half-truth. Henrik had mentioned the TV in passing, but Marcus hadn't been asked to deliver it. Still, it sounded plausible, and he hoped it'd be enough to diffuse the situation. Ingrid hesitated, her arms uncrossing slightly. "Henrik never mentioned you," she said, but there was a flicker of doubt in her voice now. "Maybe he didn't think he had to," Marcus replied, his tone steady but firm. Not everyone sees a problem where there isn't one. The silence stretched between them, heavy and electric. The security light buzzed louder, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Ingrid's lips twitched, as if she wanted to say more, but then her phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced at it, then back at Marcus, her expression unreadable. "Leave it there," she said finally, nodding at the box. "I'll make sure Henrik gets it." Marcus nodded, stepping back. "Appreciate it. Have a good night, ma'am." He turned to leave, his boots crunching against the gravel. But as he reached the gate, he heard her voice again, quieter this time. "What's your name?" He paused, glancing over his shoulder. "Marcus Jackson." She didn't reply, just watched him go, her silhouette framed by the glow of the security light. As Marcus walked down the darkening street toward his small apartment, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end of it. Something about Ingrid Larson, her suspicion, her coldness, felt like a thread he'd tugged on, one that might unravel into something bigger. And he was right. Marcus didn't sleep well that night. The encounter with Ingrid lingered in his mind like a splinter, sharp and irritating. He lay on his lumpy mattress in his one-bedroom apartment, staring at the ceiling as the hum of Copenhagen's nightlife filtered through the cracked window. He'd dealt with worse, far worse, than a suspicious suburbanite, but something about her tone, her certainty, gnawed at him. It wasn't just distrust, it was disdain, masked as propriety. The next morning, he dragged himself to the shipyard, the salty tang of the Baltic Sea mixing with the metallic clang of machinery. His supervisor, a gruff Dane named Lars, clapped him on the shoulder as he clocked in. "You look like hell, Jackson. Late night?" "Something like that," Marcus muttered, forcing a grin. He didn't mention Ingrid or the box. No point. Lars was decent enough, but he wouldn't get it. Not really. The day passed in a blur of welding and heavy lifting, but around noon, Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket. He wiped his greasy hands on a rag and checked the screen. It was a text from Henrik Voss. "Hey man, got the TV, thanks for dropping it off. Owe you a beer." Marcus smiled, typing a quick reply. "No sweat. Enjoy it." He figured that was the end of it. He was wrong. That evening, as he walked home past Österbro Heights, he noticed a small crowd near the gate. 3 people, 2 men and a woman, stood talking to a security guard, their voices low but urgent. The woman was Ingrid, her blonde hair catching the last rays of sunlight. One of the men, a tall guy with a graying beard, glanced up and locked eyes with Marcus. The look wasn't friendly. Marcus kept walking, his pace steady, but his gut tightened. He'd seen that kind of huddle before. Neighbors whispering, pointing, deciding who belonged and who didn't. He told himself it was nothing, just paranoia creeping in after a long day. But when he got home and flipped on the TV, a local news report stopped him cold. "Residents of Österbro Heights are on edge tonight after reports of a suspicious individual loitering near the community late yesterday," the anchor said, her voice crisp. "Police are investigating, but no arrests have been made. The gated neighborhood, known for its exclusivity, has seen a rise in security concerns in recent months." Marcus's jaw clenched. Suspicious individual. He didn't need to guess who they meant. He turned off the TV, the silence in his apartment suddenly deafening. Anger simmered in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting mad wouldn't change anything. It never did. The next day, things escalated. He was at the shipyard, hauling a crate of spare parts, when his phone rang. It was an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Marcus Jackson? The voice was male, clipped, official. Yeah, who's this? This is Officer Nielsen with the Copenhagen Police. We'd like you to come down to the station to answer some questions. Marcus froze, the crate slipping slightly in his grip. Questions about what? There's been a complaint. Something about a delivery at Österbro Heights. Can you come in this afternoon? He wanted to argue, to tell them it was bullshit, but he knew better. Sure, he said tightly. I'll be there. The station was a squat, gray building near the city center, all concrete and fluorescent lights. Officer Nielsen, a wiry man with a buzz cut, led Marcus to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. Another officer, a woman with a notepad, sat across from him. We got a call from a resident at Österbro Heights, Nielsen said, flipping through a file. Said you were hanging around the gate after hours, acting suspicious. She mentioned a box, said it didn't look right. Marcus leaned back, crossing his arms. I was dropping off a package for Henrik Voss. He's a friend. I live nearby, so I did him a favor. That's it. Nielsen raised an eyebrow. Henrik Voss confirmed he got the delivery, but the complainant, Ingrid Larsen, says she saw you lingering, looking into windows. She's worried you were casing the place. Casing the place? Marcus let out a dry laugh. I was there 5 minutes, tops. Dropped the box, talked to her, left. Check the security cameras if you don't believe me. We did, the female officer said, her tone neutral. The footage shows you arriving and leaving, but Mrs. Larsen insists there's more to it. She's persistent. Marcus's hands tightened into fists under the table. Persistent. Right. So what now? You gonna arrest me for delivering a TV? No evidence to hold you, Nielsen said, closing the file. But we've got to follow up on complaints. You're free to go. Just stay clear of Österbro Heights for a while, yeah? Marcus nodded, standing. Sure. Whatever you say. But as he walked out into the chilly afternoon, he knew it wasn't over. Ingrid Larsen wasn't just suspicious. She was determined. And he wasn't about to let her paint him as a criminal for no reason. Over the next few days, Marcus kept his head down. He went to work, came home, avoided Österbro Heights. But the story spread. Whispers at the shipyard turned into sidelong glances, and one of his co-workers, a loudmouth named Jens, joked, Heard you're a big-time thief now, Jackson. What's next, bank heist? Funny, Marcus shot back, but the words stung. He hated how easily a lie could stick, how quickly people believed it when it fit their preconceptions. Then, on Friday night, Henrik called. Marcus, man, you gotta hear this. Ingrid's been going around telling everyone you're some kind of prowler. She's got half the neighborhood freaked out. Marcus sighed, rubbing his temple. Yeah, I figured. Cops already talked to me. She's nuts, Henrik said. I told her you're solid, but she's not listening. Look, I'm having some people over tomorrow, barbecue at my place. Come by. Show 'em you're not the boogeyman. Marcus hesitated. Not sure that's a good idea, man. It's a great idea, Henrik insisted. Ingrid'll be there. You can clear the air. Bring that smile of yours. She won't know what to do with it. Against his better judgment, Marcus agreed. The next day, he showed up at Henrik's house inside Österbro Heights, a modest 2-story with a tidy backyard. The air smelled of grilled meat and beer, and about a dozen people mingled, mostly white, mostly well off. Marcus felt their eyes on him as he stepped through the gate, but he kept his head high, nodding at Henrik. There he is, Henrik called, waving him over. Grab a drink, man. Ingrid was there, standing near a picnic table with a glass of wine in hand. She stiffened when she saw Marcus, her lips pursing. He didn't approach her, not yet. He mingled instead, chatting with Henrik's friends, cracking jokes, letting them see him for who he was. Most warmed up fast, a few didn't. Finally, he couldn't avoid it. He walked over to Ingrid, keeping his tone light. "Mrs. Larsson, nice to see you again." She didn't smile. "What are you doing here?" "Henrik invited me," he said, sipping his beer. "Thought I'd say hi. Maybe put this whole thing behind us." "There's nothing to put behind us," she said sharply. "I know what I saw." "You saw me dropping off a box," Marcus said, his voice steady but firm. "That's it. I'm not a thief, not a prowler. I'm just a guy who works hard and lives down the street." Ingrid's eyes flickered, but her jaw stayed tight. "You don't belong here." The words hit like a slap, and for a moment, Marcus didn't respond. Then he leaned in slightly, his voice low. "I belong wherever I'm welcome. And Henrik says I'm welcome. So maybe the problem's not me." She flinched, just barely. But before she could reply, Henrik appeared, clapping Marcus on the back. "Everything good over here?" "Yeah," Marcus said, stepping back. "Just talking." Ingrid turned away, but Marcus caught the crack in her armor, a flicker of uncertainty. He didn't push it. He'd said what he needed to. The barbecue changed things, but not entirely. Some of Henrik's neighbors softened toward Marcus, even thanked him for the delivery story once they heard his side. Others stayed distant, whispering behind their drinks. Ingrid didn't speak to him again that night, but she didn't leave either. She watched, her silence louder than her accusations. A week later, Marcus got a call from Henrik. "You're not going to believe this. Ingrid's husband used to work at the shipyard, died in an accident 10 years ago. She's got a thing about workers from there. Thinks they're all trouble." Marcus frowned. "That's no excuse." "No, it's not," Henrik agreed. "But it's something. She's not right, man. But she's not evil either. Just stuck." The revelation didn't erase Marcus's anger, but it shifted it. Ingrid wasn't just a racist busybody. She was a woman haunted, lashing out at shadows. It didn't justify her, but it made her human. Then, one rainy evening, Marcus found a note slipped under his door. It was handwritten, the script neat but shaky. "Mr. Jackson, I was wrong to judge you. I'm sorry. Ingrid Larsson." No explanation, no flourish, just that. He stared at it for a long time, the rain drumming against his window. Part of him wanted to crumple it up, let it stay a footnote in a shitty week. But another part, the part that still smiled through the bullshit, won out. He grabbed a pen and wrote back, "Appreciate it. Let's leave it there." He dropped it in her mailbox the next day. No fanfare. Months passed. Marcus kept working, kept living. He saw Ingrid once or twice at the gate, and she'd nod. Small, stiff, but a nod. It wasn't friendship, wasn't even forgiveness, but it was something. A crack in the wall. One day, Henrik told him Ingrid had started volunteering at a community center downtown, helping immigrant kids with their Danish. "She's trying," Henrik said. "Not saying it fixes everything, but—" Marcus nodded, staring out at the gray Copenhagen sky. "Yeah, it's a start." And that was it. No grand reconciliation, no tearful epiphany, just two people, flawed and fumbling, stepping past the shadows they'd cast on each other. Marcus didn't know if Ingrid would ever fully see him, or if the world would ever stop sizing him up by his skin. But he'd keep going, keep smiling, because that's who he was. And somewhere, in this quiet of Oosterbro Heights, a gate creaked open just a little wider.